Hello, welcome to Walpole United WFC. Hello, welcome back to Walpole United WFC. It's match day tomorrow. We're nearly there again, and we've got a Leicester fan below. Be careful what I say tonight in terms of all those kinds of things, but it's sure to be a good one. We've got plenty to talk about. It's obviously Man United Women's 100th game tomorrow, so a landmark milestone there. Plenty to talk about from Skinner's interview. Leicester, hence why Jack is below me there, giving us more of an insight in terms of what Leicester can do, and we've got plenty. We've got a bit of fun towards the end as well in terms of our top 4 running predictions. Plenty to be discussed there. Firstly, how is everybody?
Yeah, good.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, good, Connor. As always, pal.
Good. Nice to hear. Good to see some. Barry, I think I saw your tweet earlier that you didn't embarrass yourself last week, so you're back again.
Apparently not, no. I have to try harder this week.
Last week was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. So, you're back again. And returning faces Jack and Stu as well, below me as well, so it's all good. Hello to John. I see you in the comments. The first John, because there's probably going to be a few Johns in the comments. There always is. I'm going to stop talking because I feel like absolutely crying. So let's just get straight into the first topic. It's on the thumbnail. Obviously, Man United's injuries. Now, we've got 5 players that have been ruled out. Skinner has said that they'll all be out for the weekend. Lads, Jade Moore, Staniforth, Mannion and Turner. Obviously, that's our 2 first-choice centre-backs, our 2 first-choice number 6s, and Staniforth, who was on a good run of form before she got injured as well. So I'll go around the house first. And Barry, do you think that this is going to play a part tomorrow, obviously against Leicester, or do you just think we've got enough, really, to get over the line?
Well, we've got a wealth of talent in the midfield, really, haven't we? So we discussed that last week. There's probably a few of those just rubbing their hands together thinking, well, we might actually get a game today. So I think midfield-wise, we're going to be okay. I think the big thing at the moment was defence. That was where we seemed to struggle at the weekend against City in the second half. That once their confidence went, and there wasn't really many options on the bench to then revitalise that and change it around a little bit. And I think that's going to be the issue. So, providing Leicester decide not to turn up and attack them too much, then you would imagine that we would probably be fine. However, if they do choose to do so and they put a lot of emphasis on the attack and cause them problems, then it'll be a question to see, sort of how they react to that, really. But that comes later in the show. So I think first choice wise, it could make a massive difference. But it's a good team, and they should be buoyed from the result at Leicester early on in the season. So hopefully, it shouldn't play too big of a part in the final result.
Jack, do you think, from a Leicester point of view, that you'd be almost targeting the 2 centre halves? Because I think Millie Turner actually got injured in the reverse fixture, and then she came back and then got injured again. But do you think Leicester will target the 2 centre backs? Because Maria's had a weird season. At some point, she's been our best player, and some points, like last weekend, you think, oh God, we're really missing Mannion and Millie, and obviously with no lad in front. Do you think that will be an area Leicester will maybe target?
I think Leicester, it's about going and enjoying our football. Maria scored against us last time at the King Power Stadium in the reverse fixture from a corner. So I guess in football, you've got to score goals, and the only way you do that is attacking the opposition's defence. You've got to be in it to win it tomorrow. We can't really overlook you and think, Man United have got 5 or 6 injuries. It's an easy peasy win. You've got to go and earn your win. It's about who the best team is on the day for me. I think they're the areas we'll look at tomorrow and think, we can hurt you. We'll look at your weaknesses and your strengths, and hopefully that game plan tomorrow will be executed perfectly from a Leicester City perspective.
Just sticking with injuries before I go to Stu on back to a United perspective. Is there anyone from a Leicester point of view that's out? Obviously, I know Sigworth picked up a nasty injury last time now, and obviously I hope that she makes a speedy recovery as well. But is there anyone else out for Leicester for the weekend?
We've had that loanee from Tottenham. She's gone back to Tottenham. She's now injured. So I guess it's going to be a miss, but we've obviously obviously Hannah Kane's out, Jess Sigsworth's out with an ACL. Paige Bailey-Gale, she'll play some part, I'm sure. But I think we've got a fit enough squad to go and compete tomorrow against Manchester United. So we've got quite a lot of numbers to choose from.
Interesting. Stu, just taking it back to United perspective then. Like I said, 5 players out. You'd argue that 3 probably minimum are guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but that would usually be starters, and the 2 centre halves and Lad. Obviously, I know you're a big fan of Maria as well.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that Leicester, same question really, do you think that Leicester will target the 2 centre-backs after the shaky kind of second half? And just how big of a miss that we've got 5 players out when it doesn't look like, I think Ladd is probably the closest. I think Skinner said soon. Well, whatever that means, that could be next week, that could be 3 weeks away, we don't know yet. But who do you think is going to be the biggest miss in that bunch of players?
Look, football injuries, part and parcel of the game. It's one of those where you just got to get on with it. If it was me, I wouldn't target the 2 centre halves. I'd target the width. LSV is quite a nice pitch. It's quite wide. We're too good in the middle for Leicester to dominate us, and that's where they would need to dominate us to target the 2 centre halves. And I think we're too strong in there. Ladd is a huge miss. I think we've perhaps got an issue with who we play as a holding player. It kind of will go back to the very beginning of the season where we were screaming for a player like Ladd to come in. I think if you put Katie Zellum in there, you're going to quell her influence on the game. But it does give you an option to play Zellum, Barisa, and also Jackie Gronin. So it does give us an option to do that. I would probably, if I was Skinner, I'd go with a 4-3-3 and use pace on the wings. So our 2 wingers, I'd put Brunner up top, and our 2 wingers, I like Russo, as you well know, and Toon. They're not wingers per se, but they can quite easily intertwine. They can play from deep, and they can be quite progressive as well. But it depends what he does at fullback for us and who comes in. But the real key to this will be Earps. Earps will need to command our area. So we do have 2 novice centre-backs in there, or 1 novice centre-back and 1 experienced centre-back. Earps is going to be exceptionally key for commanding the box. If she can command the box, with all due respect to Leicester, I can't see them bothering our 2 centre-halves too much.
Do you think, just on that, Barry, talking about the back 5, it's been a weird old season because we've seen so many centre-back partnerships. We've, Mannion's played with Maria for a lot of it. Then, obviously Millie came back, and now Millie was out. Now Diane's in the team, and there's been so many centre-back partnerships. Now, obviously, there was a worry in January that we were going to leave the transfer window with just 1 centre-back, which was going to be a problem. Yeah. Obviously, Diane came in. Are you worried maybe that Mannion's picked it? Because it's a knee, I think, that obviously she's gone out with. And obviously that's what she's had issues with in the past. Are you worried? I think it's fluid on the knee, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what the injury is. Are you concerned that maybe if she comes back, she might not be maybe to the level she was, or that she might not be able to regain any kind of form towards the end of the season? Or where do you kind of sit on Mannion's injury?
Well, I think it's a shame because she's been a real bright spot this season for sure. And she's certainly talking about commanding that box, she's commanded the defence, I think, at times. And I think Mannion and Turner are probably our top 2 if we had a choice and we were going to put them together. Those would be the 2 that we want to put in the middle. But yeah, I mean, of course, you always worry that they're not going to come back as strong as they could do from an injury. But no, I wouldn't be too fussed about it from fluid on the knee. I think the biggest problem really is, do we bring them back too soon sometimes? I think that's what managers sometimes do if they see the results aren't quite going the way they want them to, and you think, well, I know I can trust Mannion, so I'm going to put her in there. I think the minute you get to that sort of level, you've just got to be careful really with what you're doing with the players, because if you bring them out too soon, the last thing we'd want is for it to go entirely wrong, and then she would be out for the whole season, and that could be disastrous. So I think that would be the problem. It's just about managing it correctly, and hopefully they'll do so. And hi, Natalie.
You're right now.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to have you back on. I'll come to you then straight away. Obviously, we were just talking about the injuries and could that play a part, obviously, tomorrow. Now, I think Skinner confirmed his interview. They're all out for tomorrow. Where do you stand on that then? Do you think it will affect things tomorrow, or do you think that we've got a bit too much quality anyway in our kind of fringe players?
Jack probably won't like me now, but I think we got too much. Sorry, mate. We should be beating Leicester. I look at Diane and thought, even though that they, like we said, we want Manny and we want Millie, but them two are good enough for me. It's them two versus Arsenal. I mean, it's pretty much the same team that we did go. Well, it's the same team that we've got from last weekend, and really we should have done a lot better. I think it's our own mistakes. Why that it obviously went that way. Skinner pretty much said the same. I'd like to see, though, Fuso giving chances. Carrie Jones, I know she's been playing with the under-21s now a lot more. So I don't know if she'll be playing, but, I'd like to see rotation. I'd like to see, Hansen playing a bit more. Fuso, Leah's playing back now, but, there's a big debate that's sort of going on, and it's a mix. It's... should we play Russo on the wing, 4-4-2 with Brun? It's but the names that I'm reeling off should have enough, but it's whether you want it enough. And, I know that Leicester are going to turn up and want it, going to turn up with a plan like they did last time. We didn't know how to break it down. I think we should be beyond that now. We should be able to break a team down, but I think it's just all when it's in our heads. I just think... Skinner talked about outside confidence. You shouldn't need it. You should, have it within yourself. But I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that. I've got the quote you're on about there. He's talking about we shouldn't need outside resources to give us confidence. The first touch, energy to press, runners in behind, these are all in our control. He mentioned that a lot. I'll come back to Skinner's quotes a bit later on because there's a few quotes I want to come back to. Jack, I'll just come back to you then from a Leicester standpoint. We'll move it on to tomorrow. Just talk about that for a few minutes there. If you obviously you're a Leicester fan, if you were kind of advising the team, where would you be looking at? Because obviously we're United fans, we're going to be slightly biased. If you were looking at United going where the weak spots, where would you be saying if you were manager tomorrow? Where should you be? Where should you be exploiting or attacking?
It's about winning that midfield battle for me because that's where you get to the defence. We've got Molly Pike in there. She's very underrated in the WSL. She's a phenomenal player. She loves to win a ball. Shannon O'Brien, another one, loves to win a ball. They're full of energy, them pairing that midfield. They love a good tackle. We just need to stay in the game for as much as we can and take advantage when Manchester United give us the chances. Defensively, we've got to attack you guys tomorrow, but we can't leave ourselves too open for you guys to play us over the top. We can't play too much of a high line because we know how good Manchester United are when teams do play a high line. So I guess, winning that midfield battle, attacking your defence and taking our chances when it matters, because that's all going to count tomorrow. It'll be a difficult game playing at LSV tomorrow, but it will be one where the girls are going to be up for it. They've got nothing to lose, really, because we're not expected to beat Manchester United. But if we can go and give you guys a game, then why can't we beat you at the end of the day? If we can prove we're up for the task, then hopefully we can get some out of tomorrow's game.
It's interesting you mentioned the high line, actually, because obviously when you beat us in the Conti on penalties, just sorry to remind United fans of that game, but we were caught offside. It must have been a record. The amount of offsides were unbelievable. So we did struggle last time with the kind of high line you were playing because you were kind of playing counter-attack but pressing at the same time. So it's interesting you say that. I just want to come to yourself, Stu, on the midfield. So we did a show last week, I think it was, or the week before about midfield. And it kind of ties into the injury debate. Like we've said before, no lads. Obviously, Jade Moore's not ready yet either. So it is likely going to be Zellum and Jackie, I'd have thought, or Zellum and Borisa. It would be one of those pairings. Is that maybe a concern? Because Jack's just saying there, the midfield of Leicester like to get stuck in. They like the tackles. We're going to have to match that, as Skinner would say, aggression, aren't we, again?
Yes and no, actually. It's a funny one. When you're playing against aggressive midfield, if you're not an aggressive player yourself, it's okay. Because what you tend to get with an aggressive midfielder, they've got no spatial awareness. And when you've got a bit more of a clever midfielder, they operate in spatial awareness a bit more. So providing we get the ball and we move it a tiny bit quicker than what Leicester do in terms of their overall press, then we should be okay. Now, you know as well as I do, Colin, there's two types of press in football. There's a player that will run at 100 miles an hour and do what he can, but then an intelligent player will just pick that off and dink around them. Or there's a very, very slow press. Now, if Leicester come at us with a very, very slow press, what they'll do, they'll give us more space, but they'll position themselves that they can then close the space down quite quickly. So it's quite interesting, what dynamic it will be actually between an aggressive press and a not so aggressive press. Now, when Jackie gets the ball, if she gets it in space, there's nobody more dangerous because she can use it, she can deliver, she can run with it, she can pass with it. She's got an eye. Zellam's the same. When she gets it, she can hold it, she can run with it, but she can pass with it. Sometimes she overhits it, sometimes she doesn't. It's one of those. Barisa, we know exactly where she does. She plays brilliantly between the 8 and the 10. She's fantastic in that. And again, if they press us hard, that should give, if Barisa plays, that should give Barisa or Toon, whoever plays in that kind of floating space, more space. So Leicester will have a problem, and they could actually play themselves into that issue. Having said that, if they're very, very clever with their high line, again, which we should be onto that by now, and I think with Sina Brun, if she plays, or Signa Brun, however you pronounce her name, if she plays brilliantly off the shoulder. She's absolutely terrific off the shoulder. So we can get the ball out wide to. I like Russo out wide. But I've seen Fuso, Nat, and I like her because she's very, very direct. She's very, very quick. We can get good crosses in. I think Sina Brun should be able to push their back line back, push you deep enough for us to attack. So that's how I would see it.
Can I just raise a point just straight off the back of that? I do think that Bronny, should be the difference. I think that she obviously wasn't there when we last played Leicester. I think she is that out and out number 9. She's only gonna,
terrific, isn't she?
Be in the box kind of thing. She's terrific. I'm disappointed that we're not seeing the goal, but I'm thinking this is the game where we are going to see it because, like I said, I think the games that she's played is Chelsea, Arsenal, City, and for me, she was close to a City goal at their gaff, and then close to Arsenal goal, So I think, like you say about high line, she's going to sort of push Leicester back because you can't just sort of leave her kind of up top at by herself. I think someone's going to have to be on her, and Charlie, I hope so because she needs it, and I think we're going to see hopefully the best of her, and I think it'll be against Leicester. Sorry again, Jack.
Barry, I just want to come to you quickly because it was the topic of last Friday. We tried to get a trend start, it didn't work. With Hansen in. Now she came on against City. She actually looked quite good, I thought, when she came on. Obviously, Martha Thomas as well as another player, criminally underrated in my opinion. I thought she was excellent as well against City. Can you see either of those obviously making an impact? Obviously, we're talking about some of the star names there, with Brun and Russo, obviously other tunes in the mix and Galton and so on. Is this the kind of game where we switch it up a little bit and we give the likes of Fuso or Hansen, some of these fringe players a shot in the first 11?
I sort of worry a little bit about that because, we want to talk about confidence as well as of players. And I think that sometimes if you just drop them after a game like that, it's almost sort of saying, you didn't do too well in that second half. So there's an argument for that as well. But I think Hansen down the right, as I said, came on, did really well. Martha Thomas, for me, was player of the match. I just thought her running, her effort, everything that she put into that game, she left everything on the pitch. And I think she can be, rightly disappointed to have been brought off, I thought, because I thought she was just absolutely magnificent. And she was leading literally from the front. She was running after every single ball, chasing them down. And you could hear the crowd responding every single time we started to push them back. And they didn't like it. City hated that. The minute we caught them and cornered them, they didn't know what to do with that ball. They didn't have a clue. And I think you need those people that are going to press and harass the people in their defence. And I don't think Leicester would particularly like that either. I'm not sure there's many defenders at any level of football, really, who enjoy that level of pressure when they're in their own third. So I think Hanson's got a shout, but as we said last week, there's so many players that we could put in these positions that all of them have got a shout. It's going to depend how they've trained. It's going to depend what effort they've put in that. It's going to depend how they're feeling. And as we said last week, it's going to depend on the confidence and the trust that Skinner has in them for this weekend. So, yes, I'd still like to be #Hanson in. Yes, I'd like to be go on Bruni and get some goals. Yes, I want to see Tooney on fire again so that we can sing that song. You know, there's so many options. We want Russo to score. We'd love Grunin to get on there because I know Nat's desperate to get on the pitch and for that to come true. So there's so much that we want to do and that we could do. But it still comes back to that little thing about the defence. How are they going to be? Are they going to be okay? Is Diane going to continue being the rock at the back like we said that she is? And who's going to be there? And I did see a question that was put on about why Dev CB hasn't been brought in. And I don't know enough about our development group to mention that. But Nat, I know you go quite a bit. And I just wondered if you would think, if there anybody you think would be ready that could potentially be there in reserve?
One person that I'd bring on would be the under-21 captain, Poppy Lawson. Do I think she's ready? Yeah, but do I think this is the time? Probably not. I don't think it's the time really for anyone. Maybe, you know, up front is different, you know, when he brought on Karna, and, you know, I'd like to see Maz as well, Maria Edwards given a chance because she's the top goal scorer of the under-21 league. So I do think I'd like to see her given a chance because, you know, these girls are like 18, 19 now. They need to either be in our first team, like in and around like Carrie, or we need, you know, it's the end really for them, and then they've got to go and get other clubs. So I would like to see Maria Edwards instead of a centre back. I think we're all right, you know. That's not the one place that I'm bothered really anymore. I know we were like, oh, centre back, but and the two of them are out, but I'm actually confident in what we've got. And I know you just said, I mean, this is what we'd like to see, and the confidence, Barry. But I keep it the same, what we had it against City, because I think they did it. But then what I would like to see is if, say, we keep it the same or whatever, maybe one or two change, little twink or whatever, I'd like to see if it's not going well, changes quicker. I think it did make changes quick, but I'd like to see different change. And, you know, I'd like to see then, you know, your Ivy, your Kerry Jones. Still like to see Brun come on because I think that was the right sub at the right moment when he did that against City. But I'd just like to see quicker changes. But I'm with you, Barry. Keep it the same. It was, you know, whatever, like you say, trusting them. They can do it. But when he feels like that control slipping, then bang, you make the sub. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to move it on slightly before we go to Stu's topic there. Jack, I just want to come to you because it's worth mentioning. Obviously, Leicester had a change of management. Lydia's come in, manager of the month as well, and a good little run of form. Obviously, Chelsea game aside, it's been a good kind of, I guess, 6-7 weeks for Leicester. Obviously, beat Birmingham, beat West Ham, beat Spurs, obviously in the FA Cup as well. There was a Brighton win at the start of Jan as well. What's been the reason? What do you think's been the main reason for the turnaround, obviously, at Leicester?
She's handled it differently. She's put more energy and belief into the squad. I guess the players have matured more under Lydia Bedford. They've got more used to the WSL. They knew coming up into the WSL it was going to be a difficult league. It was a league where they knew they had to adapt to quick. And I think we've done that. I mean, talking to Nat after the Man United game first time round, Nat said to me, do you know what, Jack, you've got to go and beat the Birminghams, the Brightons, the West Hams, because they're the games you can go and get points from. And we've done that. We beat Birmingham twice now, beat West Ham, beat Brighton at the King Power. So I guess Lydia's become more faithful in a squad selection. It's been more consistent. She's made the players believe in their own abilities. They seem more confident, more composed on the ball. She's took the pressure off them, innit, if that's how I can put it. And I think she's done an amazing job so far. And she fully deserved the manager of the month for me, which the Chelsea manager said as well, Emma Hayes. So I guess she's took it different and how Jonathan Morgan first had it in them first 8 games. Her substitutions are better timed. She knows how to change the game if she feels necessary to do so. And she wants the best for the football team. And she's producing the goods so far. So I'm quite happy with Lydia Bedford at the minute and since she's come in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just for selfish reasons, I wouldn't mind seeing Birmingham go down because St Andrews was probably one of the worst grounds, even though it's obviously the men's ground. It was probably one of the worst aways we've done. So, yeah, I'm wouldn't mind seeing Birmingham don't go down either. Stu, do you want to lead us into your topic then?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about player reaction really after a loss. It was a bad loss for us, I think, on last weekend. I think we all know that. So I just wanted to touch on my experiences really when I was playing and what I used to do after a loss. I was a bit of a thinker. So we'd have the kind of debrief straight after. The manager would give you a bollocking if you deserved a bollocking, etc. And the players would be at each other's throats about why we lost, etc. And then I'd, on the drive home or on the coach home, I'd be thinking about what could I have done more to affect the game and affect the results. And one of the things I used to do was try and find as much info about the opposition as I possibly could. And certainly for me, it was important to know, whether he would take the ball on his left foot or his right foot. Would he take it into chest? Would he take it high? Would he take it low? Does he back in? Does he give me, does he want a yard of space? That type of thing. And I just wondered whether or not the modern day professional feels like that, dives deep into the opposition as much. We've got analytics, analyzers of the game who can talk about certain areas and certain aspects of the game. As Connor knows this, I grew up in segments. So, when I was 8 years old, I was taught to play in certain segments on the pitch. And I just wondered what the panel's thoughts are on about, a loss, what a player should do, what we're likely to see against Leicester, because the first 10 minutes for us will be critical on the back of a 4-1 loss. And it was a bad loss, really. However much we were in or out of the game, it was a bad loss. And so that was always my experience. That's how I would try and process it and then try and do something about it to affect the next game.
Just you saying, what would the players do? Sorry, Connor, I'm not like robbing your show. For me, I think if you look at the first half, we lost to City. Then they went off 2 weeks international break, whatever. Some of them were successful, some of them weren't. And they came back. And I think we could see from that loss that they were more, like you said, the one-on-ones, the battles, the duels. And they were all over City. And like what Barry was saying, City couldn't handle it. We boxed them in. That's my thing. Like, get him in that corner. Martha was running at them. We're all over them. And I think if we go like that, again, sorry, Jack, the way that we played against Villa, when we were just pressing on them, pushing them high, if we play that against Leicester, then I think we can get another 5-0. I don't see why we can't do it again. I'm sorry, Jack, I really am. But it's just that thing, isn't it? It's that if Leicester then come back on us, are we then going to all just fall apart and then just that's it, finish, game over? Because really, City went 3-1 up in it was about 10 minutes, so we could have easily, pulled it back, but we just sort of, it was over, and I knew it was over. It was over. I've read this story before, and it's heartbreaking. I want them to have that fight and be up for it, but I don't know, when it seems to go tough, that it's like what Skinner says, you need to look within yourself, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's the reason I bring it up because, the men's game, it's full of psychologists, it's full of this, it's full of that. And the women's game, it just doesn't have that level of input, really. And, the players live together, or, they eat together and that type of stuff. And I just wonder sometimes, you talk about aggression. I've noticed it, a lack of aggression sometimes. I've noticed in patches in games, a lack of intelligence, which is weird, really, because we've got some really intelligent footballers, some quality footballers, but sometimes we just don't seem to do the basics. And personal reflection for me was the way forward. I would spend all week, sorting myself out, ready for the next game. And I'll be ready for the first header. I was a centre half, so I'll be ready for that first header. I wouldn't be overly anxious, but that first header used to determine my game for the first 20 minutes. If I missed it, for fuck's sake, I'd be having a mare. But if I won it, I'd be on top of the game. So that's the reason I bring it up, because I think it's a really important part of the game.
Barry, where do you stand on this? And because, like Nat said, it was a good first half against City. We did box them, and we had the reaction that we wanted. Obviously, second half, we don't to go over that again. Obviously, we know what happened with individual errors. But do you think the players, they seem to react quite well? It's been a tough month. We've had Chelsea, Arsenal, obviously Arsenal twice, beat them once, so on. We've had some tough get, obviously City twice. It's been a tough month for the players. So do you think that is going to be the most important thing? Obviously, we've probably got the quality to beat Leicester, but do we have that mental capacity to turn it around?
I think, well, this exactly that. It's that exact word. It's the one that Nat used a bit earlier on when she jumped on, which was mental. It's all about the mental strength. We know what they can do physically. We know what we've seen them do it. We just saw them do 45 minutes of fantastic football. And I think, to me, like the parallels to the men's game, as it's been in the last few games, where United have like 500 shots, score 1 goal, and then we're all like, what's going to happen second half? I think at the moment, if we go in 1-0 up at half time against Leicester, having had a really good first half, that's when the mental strength and toughness is going to be needed. We're not going to have the same thing happen again. And then, of course, if Leicester do equalise and something happens there, it's like, what's going to happen? For me, it's about that reaction. I think, so the hard thing with that is you can't teach it. You can't teach that. There's nothing you can do about that. You've just got to live it and get strength through it and get confidence from doing, as Stu said earlier, that the basics correctly. And as long as they do that, perhaps Skinner might notice these things happening and catch 1 or 2 of them that might not be confident enough to do so. But I think that's the key thing. And I was looking at some of Skinner's quotes as well, and he said there's things, the emotions that he wants to put into the game, and there's emotions that he wants to put in. And I think that's what it's going to all be about, is the emotions, how you can handle these things when they happen again. Of course, if we go and do what we did in the first half against City, like Nat said, then we could be 3-4 up at half time, and then it's more a case of, do we go for the jugular? And it's more then on Leicester and how they're going to respond and what they're going to do. So yeah, I think from my point of view, I think that's what they need to do. They've just got to find the way to turn that corner, because we're not far off. We said this last week. We're not far from that ability. We're trying to break into the top 3, and we can't forget the fact that we are up against Arsenal, we're up against City, we're up against Chelsea. We've been playing those games, like you said, all month, so it was always going to be a tough month. Now it's about understanding that the running is a little bit nicer, and we don't really have to worry about that until the end of the season. And without jumping into my bit too much, as far as I'm concerned, I see sort of 3 points every single week. That's going to be if they are confident enough to do so. And they're going to need that going into that last game against Chelsea, because that could be the thing that decides whether we go, to Europe or not.
Yeah, definitely. Jack, I just want to hear it from a Leicester point of view, because obviously I don't know how close you are with some of the players. I always see your pictures after games and that kind of thing, so I'm assuming you have a little bit of a chat with them. But obviously, I don't want to discredit Leicester here, but obviously you were on a losing run, I guess, at the start of the season. There was a lot of late goals, and I think Everton, Brighton were both in the last kind of 5-10 minutes as well. What do you, from a Leicester point of view, for the players, how did they, or do you think that they turned that around? And what was it like, I guess, for a player? Because it must be demoralising. You go in each week, you're losing each week, and obviously Birmingham are in the same boat now. What did you notice anything within the players or anything like that mentality-wise?
I think talking to the players, them sort of results like the Brighton away result, conceding in the last minute, the Everton 1-0, games like that really, where they were disheartened. They used the phrase every time, stick by us, the points will come. And I believe them. I said to them, you know what, keep your heads up. Don't let it affect you. You've still got another game to play. You've just got to move on to the next game and make sure you don't make them mistakes again. I think it's the case that as a player, you can only make a certain amount of mistakes. And I feel that you've got to rekindle that sort of belief that you don't make them mistakes again. And I think from a Leicester perspective, yeah, the girls' heads were down. Certain players like Shannon O'Brien and that, the younger players who are not as much experienced to witness them things like Abby McManus has, and the Sophie Howards and that, the more experienced type of players. I think the experienced type of players handle it differently. They're more know what to expect and how to handle it. And I think the younger players, they need to learn their trade in doing it that way. And I think that'll make them more mentally stronger. And I feel that with Abby McManus, Sophie Howard in the team, the more experienced players, that they're going to help the younger players produce. And I think that's what they've done. I mean, talking to players game after game, I said to them, girls, believe in yourselves. You can do this. You're not in the league just to make the numbers up. You know, you are good enough to stay in this league and go and compete with the best. And I think we've done that. I mean, watching Leicester versus Chelsea away from home in the Barclays WSL, I mean, we competed with Chelsea for 75 minutes at 0-0. We gave them a game against the big teams don't expect. I mean, we've, in every game, thought to ourselves, we can go and fight, go and get the points. And if we don't get the points, then it's better luck next time, isn't it? And I think confidence is a main thing in a player's mind. If you've got the confidence and abilities and believe in your own abilities, you can go and create anything, can't you, as a player? So, yeah, like Barry says about strong mentality, then players have got to have that strong mentality to believe that they can go and win any game and go and compete with the best. Because if you don't, then your heads are going to be down afterwards, and then you're going to be twiddling your thumbs thinking what to do next and how to make it better next time.
Yeah, man, I just want to back up what Jack's saying and just saying about, like, when you see the players and you see them after and you speak to them, it is very much like, you know, keep going. Oh, don't worry, don't let your heads go down. But Skinner said something about pressure, and I think it was Catherine Bratt that said to him, you know, the expectations have risen now at Man United. You know, we were at a point where we were, you know, 3 points off the top, and, you know, in a semi-final, and we were thinking of, you know, going on and winning a cup, and now it's all just on the league. Now it's all on these 8 games, and he talked about pressure and the pressure that the players have to deal with and how it's changed. And he says, but it's normal. It's Man United, you know. So when they all came out after the City game, these are our girls now, and I saw some of them, and, you know, it was like, right, yeah, on to the next. It's league now. But some are just, I don't know that. They looked at you, and I looked at them, and I'm an open book. I'm not going to sit and say, oh, yeah, it was great, because it wasn't. You know, some of them I was like, you know, heads up, but some of them it's hard. It's hard for me to be up for it, never mind them. So when they then look at the fans, and the fans are dejected, and, you know, I think it was easier that after that Arsenal game, because I think at least we were disappointed, but it was 1-1. You know, we should have really won that. And then obviously the City one, it went all the way to the end, and it's the last 10 minutes of goal that we've seen. And it's just, you know, I get, it's hard to always be, I mean, I suppose, Jack, this is the first time, you know, you guys have just come up. So, you know, you're probably not expecting to win all your games. You know that you're going to go to Arsenal and all these kind of places, and probably you are going to get beat. You know, Reading been in the league a long time. Like I said, it's the ones in and around. It's God, what did I say to you? It's like Brighton, West Ham. Those are the ones where you might, and you did get points off West Ham. And I've just been sent a little message from someone who's watching now, and he's saying Leicester have now won 4 of their last 6 in the WSL. So for me, they've got that confidence. I know, obviously, the FA Cup you got battered, but it was the red card, and now she's back. So, you know, I'm not saying it's easy for Jack to be more confident coming off a game, but I just think we're at a point where we're like, when we do see them getting beat, it's hard for me to, you know, to still be like, don't worry, because we've seen this top 3 slip out of our hands last year, and I don't know, just what anyone else wants to jump in. I see you, Jack, on.
Sorry, Barry, can I just jump in quickly before yourself there? I just wanted to make my point's very, very brief. I think that's the reason why, you always clap the players off the end. You always, kind of keep your heads up kind of thing, because they will be their own worst critic. The mistakes that were made against City, they will know they made those mistakes. They will know what they need to work on. Skinner and Martin and all the coach staff will have those conversations behind the scenes. That's why I think after the game, you need to be not careful, but almost like you don't need to hammer it home to them. Oh, you made that mistake. How did because they know that they didn't mean to make that mistake. They know what the errors they made. So I trust in them, and I trust in the coach staff that there is that belief and the confidence around the place. There should be. We're in a good position, and the squad's good to turn it around. So sorry, go on, Barry.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, obviously on Sunday I was privileged enough to be stood next to Natalie as the songs were being done, and with each goal that went in, we were both there, Connor, at the same time. Just you could feel us just gradually just dropping further and further down, and it was just what Nat was saying there about how, as the players came out, how they looked. I mean, 100% well done to Nat, because she carried on trying to lift the crowd and getting everybody to sing those songs. And I think actually as fans, we have to try and do that where we can. And I think we need to have the player who's going to have a similar sort of impact on the game, that ability to get people to lift their heads up. Katie tried that. She pulled them in the huddle, gave them the opportunity to try and settle, and they did settle at that point. Maybe the huddle was a goal too late. Maybe we just didn't quite have it at that point. But I just think as fans, we carry a responsibility as well to try and help those guys through. We're going to be the 12th girl on this occasion, and we've got to try and get them across the line as best we can. So that they know that we're there. And I know they say they always hear us. I know they say that they're always, pleased to hear us or Natalie, whoever it is who might be making the noise. But I just think it's so important that we try and do that and help them, especially now, because last year we didn't have people in the grounds, so they didn't have that. So we've got that opportunity to be a part of it and to really try and help them get across the line. And I would say the same for Leicester. If Birmingham starts to pick up a few points, it's all about what we can do as fans as well. We're talking about raising the profile of the women's game. Well, this is the time, damn it. Let's do it. Get going and see what we can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, go on, Jack.
I think it's about pushing your team on. If they concede one goal, then you get behind your team, don't you? Throughout the whole match, you make them players believing that they can go and get the job done. We've been in games like this season, like at St Andrews, where Birmingham went down to 10 women. And then, we were 2-1 up. Birmingham obviously scored that one goal back. And I thought, okay, well, this ain't going to plan, is it? And then you just got to get behind the girls, innit? You need to keep their heads up rather than letting them drop their heads, because if they drop their heads, they drop confidence in themselves. And then it could be even worse than the result. But I think as fans, we build that atmosphere and that. The girls acknowledge us. They can hear us and that. And I think that's good. I think it's good that the players in the women's game have that relationship with the fans, because I don't think you get too much of that in the men's game, to be honest, where you can talk to a player after the game and inspire them and embrace that you played well and stuff like that. And I think that's something that the women's game offers more. And as fans, we just need to back the girls when they need us the most. And I think as Leicester fans this season, we've done that. We've told them that you've got to go and win games like the Birminghams and that. And they've said, you know what, well, we can go and do that. And obviously I believe that they can do so. But every away game we've been to this season, we've been loud, we've been proud, no matter the result. We've backed the girls no matter what. And I think the FA Cup game were the same. First 20 minutes, I think we dominated Chelsea, to be honest. And then that dubious red card. And then after that, Chelsea have got the quality, haven't they, to go and finish you off and beat you. But the girls showed heart. And I mean, they didn't give up. They worked really hard. They ran their socks off. But 7-0's a result that we didn't really expect. But I don't think it had happened if the red card would have happened, to be honest. But I guess the FA Cup, we didn't really look at winning that game against Chelsea. It was a game, really, that it was a free game, a free hit sort of thing. I think Leicester's main aim this season was staying safe in the league and building on what we've got in the games to come in the WSL.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to move it on briefly because I'm just conscious of time there, and on to Barry, your topic, and I am going to share my screen while you lead us in here. So, do you want to explain
well
what
played.
your topic
Well,
is?
you were delightful there, Connor. You saved me a job, so thank you very much. But basically, I just thought it would be a nice idea just to, we're getting down to squeaky bum time, as Sir Alex would say. And I just thought it'd be interesting for us to have a little look and see whereabouts we think the top four is going to fall. Where are the dice going to be? Who's going to end up where? Are we going to make it to third? Are we going to be, unlucky again? So I thought if we just looked over the last few fixtures, really, we might be able to throw out a few predictions. Let's see if I can put my teeth back in. A few predictions, and see where we end up. I didn't think to do it for the bottom of the table because I genuinely don't see Leicester going down. I really hope not. I'd be gutted. I quite like Leicester, so much rather keep those.
So what we'll do then? So what I've done, I'm quite sad. I've got my own little predictor table that I made last week actually, and I've made some edits. So I'm hoping this works. If I share my screen here. Come on, here we go. There we go. So that is my current running prediction. Now, I've got United obviously just coming in third by 1 point. That's providing we pick up a point on the last day against Chelsea. So that is everybody's running. Like I said, I've snuck Spurs in there, but as you can see by my result, you can probably work it out. Green is a win for the team. Obviously, a red's a loss, and a yellow I've put down as a draw. So that is my kind of thing. Stu, do you want to go first on this one then? Obviously, we'll focus on United first, and you can look at some of the others. And do you agree with what I've put there? I think we're going to drop points at West Ham, obviously, and Chelsea is going to be tough anyway. But where do you see where do you see this falling? Because it's going to be tough. We've got, like I said, West Ham is probably the banana skin in there. You've a couple of other games. Old Trafford, could that play a part with the pressure at Old Trafford at Everton? Who knows? Go on, Stu. Take it away with what you see there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, really. I'm not really one for predictions, as you well know. I don't see us dropping points actually away. I think we'll beat West Ham, but only by the odd goal. I think it'd be 1-0. Chelsea, I would turn red, I'm afraid. It depends how tight it is at the top between Chelsea and Arsenal at that point in time. If it's close and Chelsea need to beat us or need to get a draw, we're going to really, really struggle. If they don't and they're champions, it could well be that we go and we beat them. For me, it all hinges on this week, really, this weekend, on how we start against Leicester. And if we can gain those 3 points, I think we'll beat Reading away. I think we'll beat Everton at home. I don't see that being too much of a problem. I think for us, being at Old Trafford, the pitch, the size, I think we'll have too much for them in terms of space. By the time Everton comes around and Everton comes around and Brighton comes around, we should have most of our squad back in contention. So I can see us getting wins all the way up until Chelsea, which then puts us still in third place. I think we'll end up in third.
Nat or Jack, by all means, jump on that.
I don't know. I can't see Spurs beating City. I just can't see that. I can see maybe a point. I can't see that. I can see maybe Reading getting a point against City. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think we have to win all our games, including Chelsea, to be honest. Because I just can't see City dropping points. Maybe they will. Maybe, But like what Stu says, I think it starts with Leicester, but then I think then the next week, Reading, that'll be a big game. And I think that's going to be really tough. And then obviously you go into West Ham, and then it depends how we've done in those two, how Everton plays out. Because I think, like you say, I think Old Trafford, we should beat Everton.
Yeah,
but they're sort of getting back on form, and then if we're going into it sort of squeaky bum time, it's they might take advantage. I don't know. I think the rest of them, we'll win. And then, like you say, isn't it? I think hopefully we can get a point against Chelsea. I think it'll be good. I just hope I hope City drops some points along the way, to make it easier for us. And I can see it, yes, being Spurs, but I can't see them getting beat. Maybe a draw.
Jack, from an outsider's point of view, then, if you're looking at I think you could probably, like I said, Spurs have got Arsenal in there, they've got Chelsea twice, they've got Reading, they've got City. That I personally rule them out of the Champions League just because of the fixtures they've got. You're looking at United and City there. Obviously, City have probably got the more favourable running just because they don't have well, obviously I know Spurs are the current top three, but they don't have to play Chelsea and Arsenal. From an outsider then, if you're looking at that running, who are you pipping for that? Or are you going to throw a curveball out there and say that Spurs are going to pip the two Manchester clubs? I hope you're not, but come on.
To be honest, yeah, I can see us getting something from the Tottenham game. We've beaten them in the FA Cup, their first team this season, so I don't see why we can't go and get anything again. Looking at your games, I mean, West Ham's in there. You should really beat Everton, beat Brighton, beat Villa. Chelsea will be a difficult game. Can't see you winning that one. Reading away, I can see you winning that game. Leicester, well, we're going to give you a game, so I'm going to go for a draw on that one. Arsenal, Birmingham at the weekend. They'll want to beat Birmingham this time round because they lost at St Andrews. Arsenal. That was a very surprising result for all the WSL fans who expected Birmingham to get a spanking. Then they've got Brighton, Spurs. They've got Leicester as well, Arsenal. I mean, we could give Arsenal the game. It depends which Arsenal team turn up, to be honest. If it's a very good Arsenal side, then they can go and beat anyone, can't they, in this league?
So are you saying that Leicester are going to play a key part in this battle for top three? Is that the angle you're going for here? That Leicester are going to disrupt some of these teams?
Do you know what? Yeah, the men have done it in the Premier League for other teams, so I can see the women going to do it as well, to be honest. We seem to be this sort of team where teams overlook us and think, oh, it's an easy 3 points against Leicester. I just think with Lydia and that this season, I don't think that's the case. I think Leicester could play a part in who's going to finish where, but I can't see Spurs finishing fourth. I think Man United will finish fourth in this one. Chelsea and Arsenal, I think they'll be ones who's going to finish first and second, but I can definitely see City finishing third.
And Barry, just circling back to yourself, obviously it was your topic. What do you reckon? Obviously, I don't know whether your predictor looks the same as mine, or do you agree with that? Do you disagree? How does yours look?
Not a million miles off at all. Not a million miles off at all. I mean, there's four clubs really, I think, that have really got a big say, as you just said, in what happens there. I think Spurs and Everton are both massively going to be involved in that. Obviously, they've got games against pretty much all of us there. And also, as you mentioned, it's going to be about Leicester and Birmingham. If Birmingham pick up a few points, then it's going to be obviously very close down the bottom there. And both of those sides are going to want to try even harder because there's that opportunity for Birmingham and Leicester to then leapfrog each other. So I think a lot will depend on that. I do have City dropping points at Spurs, and I think us finishing third has a huge... That match is massive, basically, because I see City winning every single game after that, just as you do. Our hope then does come, like I say, about Birmingham, Leicester, and to a degree Everton, as Nat said, resurging just a little bit there. So I think that's going to be a big one. I do see Spurs mirroring the men's team and bottling it and not quite getting there. That'd be great if they could do that, please. So then it just leaves us down to the rest. And I've got Arsenal on 53 finishing as well. And I've got Chelsea on 51, providing they draw against us on the last day of the season. So it could be going to the goal difference, Connor, the way that I've got it down there. It's going to be tight, which is great because you want this sort of drama in the WSL. And I'd really enjoy that. But I've got us finishing third by 2 points over City. So to me, that Spurs game is massive. If they can draw that and we get the win against Leicester as well, then there's a chance. Without that, it's going to be very squeaky bum time. Very squeaky bum time.
Interesting. I said there's so many possibilities on where this league table can finish. As Marty's saying there, Spurs, that's the one. Spurs and City, because I think if City are going to drop points somewhere, that's probably going to be the one. Yeah. I'm just conscious of time. Obviously, Stu, I know you've got to shoot off, but one thing I obviously wanted to mention, but before obviously you've got to go, and obviously we'll carry on chatting about it. Obviously, it's the 100th game tomorrow, landmark game for United women's side. I just want to talk about, obviously, Nat, you've been to pretty much all of them, I'd imagine. But just want to talk about people's best moments, and if you could pick one game as a standout out of the 99, obviously soon to be 100 tomorrow, where would that sit? Obviously, Stu, I'll come to you first because I know you've got to shoot off.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had a phone call to pick the girls up. I didn't know I've got to do it. So typical. It's got to be my first game, Reading. Because I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I've been a season ticket holder for 28 years with the club, and when I joined Ulster United, I joined to talk about the men's side. That was my real interest, and then I got to know various people within the community of Ulster United, and Nat and Connor and Jonathan in particular, and Benny, who kind of made me intrigued about the women's game. And I was honest with Nat and Connor and Ben and Jonathan. I really didn't look at it. I never watched it. I didn't have any kind of preconceptions to how good or bad it would be. Anyway, and I went to LSV to Reading, and I was absolutely blown away by the quality, the professionalism, the players themselves, their attitude, their application, the support, the fans. It was great. I mean, and to be honest, as Connor laughs about it, I was stuck on my own in the South Stand. I was there on my own. I was waving to him, and he, totally ignored me. Because he was there with the season ticket holders in the West, and I was there waving to him. So I got my coffee, had a pie, I sat down, and I watched a brilliant game of football. For me, it was brilliant. I mean, I thought Reading were decent. They got a couple of big bruises in there, and I thought thought at the very beginning maybe we're a little bit too feminine to play football, and this is all that was going through my mind. And then all of a sudden, it clicked what women's football was all about, and it's all about the passion and a real desire to want to play a game that I've loved since I was 5 years old or 4 years old when I first kicked a ball. And for me, that was absolutely great. And I identified two players, and I've got absolutely pelters for saying that I thought Zelen was an excellent footballer. I just liked her technical ability, and Thor. Those were the two players that for me stood out. And I butted a few heads with some fans with regards to my player, thoughts and my player profiles, my player predictions. But all in all, I've been welcomed into the family and treated brilliantly. And it has to be my favourite moment, because I didn't think I'd ever envisage seeing myself go. And so much so now, my lad goes to most of the United games now. And when I can, because I'm a family man, as you probably guessed, I go with the guys to LSV. So I just want to thank Nat, Connor, Jonathan and Benny for really welcoming me, to the women's side. And if it hadn't been for them, I probably would still be focused on the men's side. So thank you both. Very, very, really appreciate it. I do apologise, fellas. I'm going to have to go on taxi duty now, which, as I say, I didn't realise. So apologies. And thanks for having me on again, Connor. Nice to meet you guys. Hope to work with you again soon. Nat, pleasure as always. Always is. And thanks for watching, everybody. So I'll see you soon.
Nice one.
Take care, mate.
Take care, guys.
We'll continue with that conversation, and Barry, I'll come to you next. Talking about obviously landmark game tomorrow, 100th game. Just your favourite moment, whether that's a moment in the ground, whether that's the best game you've watched on TV, whether it can be literally anything in those 100. Obviously on the pitch, we'll keep it because obviously it's the 100th game, so we'll keep it just game only. What would you say is your standout?
Well, I mean, as I said last week, when I first heard that there was a women's team finally about to be announced for United, I mean, I was delighted, really. Not because I necessarily saw myself watching every single game or getting massively involved with it. I just thought it was about time we had one. Arsenal had one, City had one, Chelsea had one. Virtually every club in the world seemed to have one, and we didn't. And yet here we are, standing as one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we haven't even entertained the fact that we're going to have women playing football at a more professional level. So I was really pleased about that. And so, you could argue that 2018, getting into the Championship, very first game, Liverpool 1-0 away, Lizzie Arnott, thank you very much. That's going to be a fantastic result because it's always nice to beat Liverpool. And I think that's true of most football teams, not just Man United. But, you've got the promotion immediately, season number 1. Casey Stoney, who I think, it was a fantastic manager. We've had good results against City in the Conti Cup as well. There's so many that you can end up choosing from. It's absolutely mad. And I'd like to echo what Stu said as well about how, as men, sometimes we haven't necessarily always embraced women's games to the level we should. And actually, I don't say we should just because it's something we should just give easily. I'm talking about the fact that it's visibly noticeable, the passion that you've got, that the players have, the way in which they turn to play, the way in which they've got skills and abilities that sometimes far surpass the men. I mean, that goal from Katie Zellum, I've never seen a bloke score from a corner. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not them or us or any of that sort of thing. It's just football, and football is an absolutely bloody brilliant game. And I like watching it with people who are both passionate on the side and passionate on the pitch. So my favourite moment, Connor, is going to have to be the first night that I met you and John. And sadly, Natalie wasn't there, but it was the Arsenal Conti Cup 1-0 match. And my reason for that is because, I mean, number one, it's always great to beat Arsenal as well. And I'd say that's for every team as well, not just United. But growing up, Arsenal's women's team were like the pantheon. They were just it. They're like the Man United of the women's team, of the women's game. And I just think to get that win over them, it was the sign that actually we might be on our way to breaking the mould and getting into it and making the top 3 or top 4 discussion, which it can only be a good thing for the WSL. So that's me. Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1, in your face.
Yeah,
that one.
I'm glad you said that again, because that is mine. I'll just say mine very briefly. I can just echo that as well. But it was that Arsenal away. It's a shame. I wish more people were there. Obviously, like yourself, Nat, there was a lot of people missing from that game that should have been there. But I think the way in which that game went, we all went there. Me and John obviously drove down together. We were kind of saying on the way down, can you imagine if we actually did beat them? And we did. And, the last 83rd minute, I think it was, Russo header right in front of us. We all ran forward. Anthony was nearly on the pitch. And to hold on for those 10, it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. And that was 7 minutes added on or whatever it was. So I think that for me, just because of, it's the first time it eclipses anything I felt going to Old Trafford. And that feeling at Arsenal away, I think it will be struggled to be beaten until we win the league or win a cup with this women's side. I don't think anything's going to surpass that anytime soon. So Nat, I'm sure you've got loads of games.
Yeah,
I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, but no, the 2 Arsenal games are key. I think last season, Tooney, that last minute goal, I basically fell to my knees in my house because it's the first time we beat the top 3 like in the league. And then obviously the Arsenal one, getting through to the semi-finals of the Conti Cup, because we had got through to the semi-finals before and played Arsenal and lost when we were in the Championship. And we had got through to the semi-finals the first WSL year and lost to Chelsea. So this is the first time we've beaten in a knockout. So that one. But I'd have to say winning the league, that is the best feeling. I think we lose 5-0 that game. That game was so funny. If you just talk about it on the pitch and everything, it's so funny. We needed 2 more goals. I think it was 3 more goals. We were 5-0 up and we needed 3 more goals to get 100 goals. I think we scored 97 goals that year. And I just remember it was getting closer and closer, and we were like 10 minutes. And then I think Amy Turner scored like the last goal to make it 5. And then the way that she ran into the goal, picked up the ball and put it back on the centre circle, like, come on, 3 more. Because it was just like, you could see Casey going, hurry up. You could see them pushing to try and get that 100. And I remember even the day before when she was on a press conference, she was like, we're not bothered about getting 100. Doesn't really matter. We've just gone up. That's the best thing, And it was just that kind of, I thought you weren't bothered. And then you could just see them like running and pressuring to score. 97 goals though is still good, and just everything associated with that season. I'm not sure how much Jack watched it back then, but we went to the Quorn, it was called, and beat Leicester 5-0, and Tooney scored a hat-trick, and then Tooney just scores like so many goals against Leicester. I think she's got 11 in 5 games. It's amazing how many goals she's got. But I just also want to say, the first game against City at LSV in the County Cup, beat them, and that was, Jess and Kate scored, and those feelings were just amazing because, they're 2 United fans through and through, and they got us the victory against City. It doesn't matter, which competition, they got us the victory, and that was a great game. And then obviously our very first WSL win against Liverpool, just the way that Lauren James picked the ball up, left, right, the defender was on the floor, back of the net, and that noise and just beating Liverpool was just everything, that pop. Oh, I mean, I was talking about it to John and to Tom, and Casey said it and Mark says it. It's just different when, Casey always says, I was on a radio show with her once, and she just said that the noise that Man United fans make, you can tell it's like real football. You can tell they, love this team, and, we just want to do it for them. And I suppose, like what you were saying before, Barry, I'll always keep singing. I'll always keep singing till the end, to 90 minutes. It's just the hard bit is the bit after, I think, the 90 minutes, isn't it, when you see them coming out and they're dejected. But listen, it's about supporting till the last minute, because, anything can happen. You can change it round. And, those are a couple of my favourite moments anyway.
And just for yourself, obviously, I'm not going to ask you from a United point of view, but I'll just spin it slightly differently. Just your best game, best moment as a Leicester fan before we wrap up with a couple of predictions for tomorrow.
I think really, I'm really glad the owners have took notice of the women's game. We've been a professional club now under the name Leicester City Women for over a year now. I remember when it first got confirmed. We, under Jonathan Morgan, that season was an incredible season. Last season, we obviously went and won the championship. So many good memories beating Crystal Palace and that. Ashley Plumpter's first goal as well for the club. That was amazing to watch as well. I mean, this season, again, it was probably my best moment is beating Birmingham at home and getting that first win in the WSL. Phenomenal feeling. That sigh of relief sort of thing, to get your first win after losing so many games, which it takes it out of you, doesn't it, Nat? But I guess we always backed the girls. The atmosphere was still there. We pushed on. The passion we've got for this women's team is incredible. We have a following home and away this season. It's just outstanding. And I think the girls really acknowledge that and they love that. I'm very close with the players and the staff and stuff like that. I've built a relationship with the players over since they've become Leicester City Women. So I've built that relationship with players. I know certain players have left, like Remy Allen and that, but I guess, you still keep them contacts, don't you? And I think it's special to have, to talk to them after every game and have that conversation with them, support them. I've travelled up across the country to watch Leicester, Connor, and it's been amazing. I know sometimes it's not the result you want, but you'll always back them no matter what. No matter, you can go and lose one game, but you'd still back them no matter what. I treat the women's game like I treat the men's game, the passion. It's because Leicester City is Leicester City. It's not, the men's game separate to the women's game. We're one football club, one big family, and I think that's something that I love. I mean, beating Birmingham away from home this season, getting a double over them, I mean, that was amazing to watch as well. Getting our first away win in the league. But I think it's just to have that incredible bond with the players, really, and have that bond with Lydia as well over lemon cake and that. So it's something that I really enjoy, and it's great to see Lydia every game and see that smile on her face, knowing she's doing a fantastic job. There's so many memories. Obviously, lifting that championship trophy at the end of last season, beating Charlton at the King Power Stadium. So yeah, like I say, seeing Ashley Plumpter score her first goal in the WSL was incredible to watch. And as she scored, she looked at me, gave me that fist of come on, Leicester. And, I was right back at her. And it's great to watch the girls have that enthusiasm, enjoying the game and the love for the football club. And we give them the love that they give us. So it's just amazing as fans to watch Leicester this season. And hopefully there's more memories to come. And hopefully Lydia stays on at the end of the season, because we definitely want her to stay.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll look to wrap it up there before we go, as we always do the night before or 2 days before a match day. We'll do predictions, even though I hate doing these. I don't think I've ever got one right this season. So come to you first, Barry. Tomorrow, what do you reckon? Scoreline and any goal scorers if you want to predict those as well.
Well, I'm a little bit nervous doing this now because my last one wasn't all that great, although he was close to the Hansen 90th minute goal. Listen, I think, being brutally honest, if we turn up, then we should win. And it will then depend how Leicester have responded on that, as we said earlier. So I think my prediction is I'm going to go in the middle. I think it's going to be 3-0 to United, to go with the 3 points. And just before you leave me, I just want to say I've got a lot of love for Leicester City. I think they're really good. So I've got, honestly, my best mate at the school I teach at, he's a Leicester fan, comes from Leicester, and they were my first game that I watched the women play under, which is, of course, live in person. And that sort of got me hooked. So I've got a lot of love for you guys. I predict you're going to stay up. I hope you do stay up because I want to play you again. But having finishing the loving, I hope we batter you tomorrow, I'm afraid, because we need the 3 points. I'm sorry.
I love that. Nat, for yourself, you said 5-0 earlier. Are you sticking with that?
Yeah. I think Tooney needs to get on the goal sheet again. I think Brunny needs to get on the goal sheet. I'd like to see Russo. 5-1, they can have a goal. Go on, Jack. We do need to win. I think if we win 1-0, I'll still be happy. It's about the points on the board now. But I do think, a 5-0, a big scoreline would boost our confidence. But as Lois Skinner says, you shouldn't need to boost it from such things. It's just going out there and getting the win, and that's the most important thing for me.
Go on, Jack. Come on, predict the United. You're on a United fan channel here. You can't be predicting United losing.
Well, I'm a Leicester City fan, so of course. It's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a game we're really going to enjoy watching. I don't think it's going to be any easy game for Man United, as some fans might think. I don't think they're going to batter us. I don't think it'll be like a Chelsea result in the FA Cup. I think for me, we just have to go with the game plan. We have to execute it perfectly. It's not going to be like when you played us at the King Power Stadium under Jonathan Morgan. It's Lydia Bedford ball. It's no different manager. So she's going to want it her way. And I mean, we beat you in the Conti Cup this season at LSB. We've got a very neat record. I think we're unbeaten in the last 2 at LSB, I believe. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think the girls will go out with heart, passion, and take the fight to Manchester United. They're not going to lay down and let Man United run riot. They're going to be there to enjoy the game, and I think I'm going to enjoy it as a fan. My head, I said a draw, but my heart again. 1 tomorrow. I think the girls will go out and give it the all and give Man United the right game. So, sorry if that's something you don't want to hear, but I think for me it'd be a 1-0 draw or a 2-1 win to Leicester. I'd take either.
Interesting. I wouldn't. Interesting. I think for me, I agree. Actually, I don't think it's going to be as easy. We've definitely got the quality over, especially in the attacking line. We've got more than enough there to. If we can get an early goal, first 20, 30 minutes, I think it will probably go 4 and 5. It all depends. If it starts getting towards 50, 60, God forbid, 70-minute mark, and we still haven't scored, then I think we could be in a bit of trouble. With the mentality that we were talking about earlier. I think I'm going to stick with 3-0 though. I think obviously Ella Toons does well against Leicester. I think she'll get on the score sheet. I actually think that Zelen will get on the score sheet again. And do you know what? I'm actually going to go with Bo Risa as well. I think it will be a midfield trio that get the goals at the weekend. I hope that Brune gets her first goal. Obviously, we all want Jackie to get a goal as well. Want Blundell to get a first goal. Obviously, Mannion's not playing. We all want these first goals, but I just think let's just keep it nice and tidy. 3-0, get the winning feeling back, and get clean sheets back as well, because we haven't kept a clean sheet obviously in a few games now. We're on that good run as well, so fingers crossed for tomorrow. We'll wrap it up there because I know an hour and 15 again. If you want to go check out all the other shows for the rest of the week, we had Matt and Gareth of the show with someone from the Leicester City Supporters Club, I believe, on Tuesday. We had a show go out Wednesday with Kerry Walcliffe from West Brom. That was brilliant insight into what the WSL2 was like a few years ago and the growth of that into the Championship, and obviously what Tier 3 is now and so on. Yesterday, Nat was on with John, with Tom Gary, which was a really good discussion, actually, about what more can be done in terms of outside of the top 3-4, obviously if you include City in that, because we're part of that now, and what can be done there. And obviously tomorrow Saturday Night Live will be back, but that is obviously going to be a match reaction to Leicester now. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks all guys for coming on. Make sure you're following these guys if you're not already, and we'll see you soon.